Hey guys, welcome everyone to the M-Town Chowdown. And I'm sitting here today with a very special guest, Chef Michael Patrick of Rizzos Diner. And here on the M-Town Chowdown today, we're going to chow down and get to the meat and what's behind Rizzos and Chef Michael Patrick.
Want to do a toast?
Yeah, let's toast it up. All right, let's get ready to chow down. All right, Chef. So I want to start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you from? Are you from Memphis?
Not at all. I'm from a little town called Paynesville in Ohio, right on Lake Erie, right outside of Cleveland, Midwestern town. A lot of manufacturing steel. So growing up there, I had a paper route when I was like 9 years old, and I knew when I was about 12 with those long cold winters I didn't want to live there. So I got to Memphis in 1997 and thought I'd be here a few years, but fell in love with the city, the energy, the food, and now here I am 23 years later.
Oh, wow. So what was it that, what brought you to Memphis? I know you say you weren't feeling those cold winters in Ohio, but...
Well, I had just got out of culinary school. I went to the Le Cordon Bleu Pennsylvania Institute of Culinary Arts in Pittsburgh, and I was working for a company called Mountain Jack's Prime Rib Steakhouse, and as you work with people, you get to make connections and networking, and there was a gentleman there named Randy who worked for us briefly and then left the company. He reached out to me. He was doing some headhunting work for a company out of Texas that was opening Elvis Presley's restaurant on Beale Street. Being 25 and young, they offered me, like $17 an hour. I was making 15 in Cincinnati, and $2 more an hour, and a cost of living that was almost parallel to Cincinnati. It was a no-brainer for me. I had come down here in 1990 to visit with my cousin Dean. He was in the Marine Corps and was stationed in Millington. So we left Paynesville, and it was negative 13 degrees and about 30 inches of snow. When we got here, it was 61 degrees and sunny in January, and I was like, wow, what the heck is this, So I had been here, so when he reached out to me to talk to me about moving to Memphis, again, it was just kind of, hey, mild winters. I'll trade 100 days of 100-degree weather for 5 months of snow.
Yeah.
And I got here, and here, we're just doing it. So that's what brought me to Memphis.
Well, awesome. I'm glad that you came to Memphis, and I'm sure that the Memphians here we all know Chef Michael Patrick, man, and we all know about Rizzos, and we're certainly glad that you did stop in Memphis and that you stayed. So can you tell me a little something about Rizzos? Maybe, what's the name?
Well, the cute thing was when we were getting ready to open a restaurant, I finally got the chutzpah up and said, I'm going to do this. I thought about naming it, like Mike Patrick's Place, or I was in a little rap group when I was younger. I thought about it like Deluxe's Dining Hall, because that was my rapping name, Deluxe.
Nice.
And then I considered naming it after my mother. She had passed away the previous spring. Her name was Vanna. I just thought, man, I don't know if I could handle Southerners butchering her name with that hard, that long drawn out O. So I thought, well, for a summertime there, when I was about 17, 18, we were listening to Howard Stern show. Very big, very popular since he was out of Philadelphia, and we were in Cleveland. And there was a segment called the Jerky Boys, and they would call people and crank call them. Real smart alecky stuff. I was a smart aleck growing up. Yeah. So some of these cute names they had for people that they would crank call, like Antenna Head or Zucchini Face.
Yeah.
I started calling my friends these little nicknames, and I'd see my buddy Sean, and I'd be like, "What's up, Banana Head?" So it got to a point when we would get together, they would say, "Oh, crap, here comes Rizzo," because Frank Rizzo was one of the monikers the Jerky Boys used. Frank Rizzo was a mayor of Philadelphia in the 80s who was a little crazy. I was a little crazy, and it just kind of stuck, So I thought, man, why not just call it Rizzo's? It's playful. It rolls off the tongue easy. It's a well-known name throughout, the United States, and I can still be a little bit of a smart aleck with it because a lot of people believe I'm an Italian restaurant if they're not from here. So I just went with it, and it worked. Like I said, it rolls off the tongue fairly easy. It's playful. It's not hard to pronounce. It's not 6 different words.
No,
it's just Rizzo's. And then once we got to our new location here, we were in a little shotgun for 3 years around the corner. We thought we'd really put my stamp on it. We just call it Rizzos by Mike Patrick, and that works. And I know that my name has credibility now, and there's some weight that's being carried with it. Where when we got started out 9 years ago, it's just the confidence wasn't there. You know, I mean, there was the confidence enough to try and do something, but the unknown of doing something you've never done before kind of said, well, let me just do this. You know, and here we are.
So it's been 9 years.
Yeah.
Awesome! Congratulations.
I think we're going to make it. You know.
Yeah.
You know, they always tell us in culinary school, if you can make 3 years, you're going to be pretty good. You know, so.
Yeah, those first couple of years, just getting over that hump.
It sure was.
That's what's going, it's going to make you or break you.
I tell you, one of the best things that ever happened to me was being on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives with the Guy Fieri kind of stamp on you. You know, I think at that time he said he had like 11 million viewers every Monday.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, you know, it was all right. Let's do it. You know, I wasn't a fan of maybe his culinary style, but I definitely was a fan of the show because anybody that's out there promoting people, he don't have to do that. You know, he don't have to have a show on TV that goes to little hole in the walls and little mom and pop places and say, you got to try this food. You know, so for him to do that, to me was really special, and it felt really good, and it definitely made me feel like we had arrived. You know. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so. What is the here at Rizzos? What type of cuisine would you say that you serve?
At the end of the day, I call it Southern inspired. You know, from when I worked for Mac Edwards at McEwen's on Monroe, it's kind of where I cut my teeth. He was definitely, his philosophy was, south of the Mason-Dixon line, all the way to South Pole, no penguin. You know, we would joke about that. But for me, living in the South, my parents were from the South, but we grew up in the Midwest, in Ohio. I mean, basically, we were Northerners. But my mother would occasionally cook some Southern meals. When we would go visit my grandmother in Kentucky or Tennessee, there was always food on the table, like grandmothers do.
Oh, yeah.
That know how to cook.
Yeah.
So when I got here, a lot of my culinary background was fine dining. French, Italian, German, a lot of that was in my wheelhouse, except for the experiences I had eating it at my grandma's. So when I got here, I was told my food was too forward. I didn't cook my squash long enough. My green beans was too al dente.
Yeah.
So one of the best things that ever happened to me was working with a couple older ladies, Memphis natives, Miss Jackie and Pam, and they took me by the hand and said, "Come on over here." They
know how to cook.
Oh man, could they ever? So I started kind of embracing that southerly feel. For me, like cooking in its cores, I love to cook. So I think that energy transcends into the plate when you're cooking. If you,
it does.
I always said angry cooking is bad food. Yeah. Loving cooking is great food. So I started getting into what Southern food is, and when you look at it, I really gravitated more towards the New Orleans style of cooking, which is Creole, German, French, island food. So when people talk about fusion cooking or they talk about fusion food, there's nothing more fusion, I think, than the Deep South, because there's slight Native American influences there. You got German immigrants, French immigrants. You got, like I said, a lot of the island influence. You got a lot of African influence in the food. So when you talk about fusion food, to me, Southern cooking can't be more than that. I mean, you're talking. So for me, conceptually, I was like, I could do a restaurant. I could continue cooking the food I love to do, and I tell people it's comfort food with a chef's interpretation. Yeah. So I want that food that invokes a memory or evokes an emotion. If you'd have told me 20 years ago I was going to have a chicken pot pie on my menu, I'd have laughed at you, because it was all about morel mushroom encrusted rack of lamb with a ponzu demi-glace. And sometimes that doesn't convey to the general public too well. If you put in words that they don't understand, or as they're reading the menu, it becomes difficult, they just phase right on out.
You want something that'll resonate with the guests.
Exactly. So the chorizo meatloaf that's on the menu, I got 10 pounds of chorizo for my birthday in 2011. I don't know what to do with chorizo. I know it's Spanish. I know that it's slightly South American. But I made meatballs, I made burgers, I made sausage patties, and then I said, why don't I make some meatloaf, So I made meatloaf, and it worked really well.
Uh-huh.
The green tomato gravy influence that's on there is, I've always said to myself, you can get fried green tomatoes anywhere in the city.
Mm-hmm.
But where are you going to get green tomato gravy at? Right here. I don't know anybody else that has it, anybody else that's even attempted it.
So would you recommend the chorizo meatloaf
in a heartbeat
with green tomato gravy?
Yeah, that was one of the things that...
You got to come check it out. You got to come.
That was one of those things that Guy Fieri really focused on, was the green tomato gravy. So yeah, I mean, in the essence, it's Southern cooking that's comfort food that's elevated with a chef's interpretation.
Okay, awesome. So let me ask you a question. So you say you've been in Memphis for how many years now?
23.
23 years. What is something that things that you love about the M-Town? It's like, that really grabbed you besides the weather and everything.
Sure.
What are just some of those things that you just like? Memphis is just so great that, it's something about Memphis that's so great.
I tell people that Memphis is a magical place. I mean, to me, so if you go back historically, it was kind of the center of Southern culture. I mean, you had Memphis in the early 1900s, even up until the 60s or 70s, that's where everyone went in the South. You want to go to the big city, you came to Memphis, Tennessee. The music here is incredible. Mm-hmm. The soul of Memphis, that grit and grind that they talk about with the Grizzlies, that was here before it was coined and phrased. That grit and grind has been here since people broke ground on the river.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and one of the cool things too is that if you go back historically, Mississippi River was the highway 150 years ago.
Yes, it was.
So commerce came through here. Anyone who traveled that highway stopped in Memphis because it was a destination to either get some sleep, get some food, and the fact that all these great musicians gravitated from Mississippi, the Delta, Alabama, Louisiana. If they wanted to be heard and performed with, they came to Memphis. So to me, you get all that energy in here, and when you take a town that has that type of energy and has that love of music, of people, and food, it's a win-win-win, on a lot of levels. But this town has also seen a lot of strife. It's also seen, with the Martin Luther King assassination here, the town took a real dark turn. But even from that, I mean, if you want to, romanticize it and say the phoenix from the ashes, this town said, okay, this horrible thing happened here. Business is dead downtown. And 25 years later, they started revitalizing their downtown. And, I got here, there was still boarded up buildings downtown in 1997 when I moved here.
Yeah.
So to see this vibrant downtown come back, to me, is pretty special. So that's what I think. I mean, I think, and if you look at this geographically, this is where my craziness goes sometimes. It's we're almost in the middle of the United States,
Yeah.
You got the East Coast, West Coast, and you got Memphis over here. So, I think on a, just astral plane energy level, we got a lot to do here and a lot going on here. And a lot of things flow through Memphis from the south up north, flow through Memphis to get out west, Yeah. So that's what I think about Memphis. That's what draws me here. That's what keeps me here. It's just that true grit and grind spirit. Like I said, it kind of got a name phrase with Tony Allen and Zach Randolph being here, but that was here long before, and they recognized it coming from Boston and coming from Sacramento or Portland. They got here and said, "Oh wow,
we grind here, man."
Exactly.
Exactly. So, and speaking of downtown, so what is the downtown scene like here in Memphis now?
Well, when I moved here in '97, you can get an apartment downtown for $450. Now it's 2021, and you can get a downtown apartment for about $1,100. So if that says anything, but a typical day, I was at downtown. I lived downtown for 21 years of the 23 I've been here. In the morning, there's coffee shops. There's a couple breakfast spots that are really hot that are off the beaten path. I mean, the arcade, that's what they're known for. Don't get me wrong. You can walk by there on a Tuesday, and there'll be a line out the door. But then you got Miss Polly's over on Beale Street. You got the Blue Plate over in Court Square. So a lot of quiet breakfast spots. There's a lot of parks downtown where if you just want to grab some food and go walk on the river, you can do that. Sit down on a bench. see the Memphis River for its glory. Mississippi is a beautiful thing, you know. That river just flowing. And for me, growing up in Ohio, especially in Paynesville, we had Lake Erie, so you go to the beach. We're 3 miles from the beach.
Yeah.
And it's nice, don't get me wrong. It's nice, but with the downtown, we've got Orpheum shows, FedEx Forum, Beale Street. I mean, you can, any given day, you can walk down Beale Street and hear some great music. And I'm not talking about inside the clubs. I'm talking about in Handy Park, where these guys, for whatever reasons, are playing in the park. They're not getting paid, let's just say the $200-300 you get paid playing on the stage at Blue City Cafe or at BB King's. They got a tip bucket out there and they're just working it. And the music is real.
Yeah.
And the music's soulful. And so, you know, that's the kind of thing that can happen if you live downtown or you visit Memphis. You can stumble upon a guy that you don't know is 5 years away from making it big, playing in Handy Park on any day of the week. We got a couple outdoor places downtown that do have music, that Handy Park that I just mentioned. And then the city just keeps growing and growing. I mean, where we're sitting right now, 12, 15 years ago, you didn't want to come down here. The broken out windows, boarded up, street lights out here or there. First time someone invited me to Ernestine Hazel's in the fall of '97. I didn't know too many people here. So when I started walking from Elvis Presley's restaurant on Beale to here, I'm like, what? Where are they sending me? You know? So I'm thinking someone's setting me up. I'm going to get robbed. You know? So I hailed a cab. He drove me up the street. I got out, and you know, you look at Ernestine Hazel's, and there's a beat down storefront. You open that door, the music was banging. There was 60 people in there. And I just immediately, you know, I knew I was in an okay place. You know?
Fell in love with it.
So yeah, downtown is really moving. You know, if you want to take a parallel to COVID, a lot of things stopped, but construction sure didn't. I mean, they're working on number 1 Beale Street Landing, a whole revitalization of the park.
Yeah.
So things are happening here, and it's a very exciting time to be downtown.
Awesome. It's flourishing. I mean, it's. I've noticed even, you know, coming out today, and I was out here last week for an arts festival. And, I mean, it's just, everything is flourishing. And you mentioned COVID, but we'll get into that in just a second. We're going to take a moment just to take a break to hear from our sponsors in Memphis Centric. Welcome back to the M-Town Chowdown. I'm sitting here with Chef Michael Patrick. And, Chef, we were just speaking about, you had mentioned COVID and how it was impacting things here downtown. Well, actually, we're speaking about how the downtown scene is, and that now how the scene is trying to come back here, you know, after, you know, post-COVID. Can you kind of tell me about some of your challenges that you had dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic?
Boy, can I ever. No. You know, when we had our best February in 2020 that we had numbers-wise. And part of that was the opening of Arrive Hotel, the opening of Central Station, the movie theater. Things were really flowing. I joked with my business partners, I think we're actually going to make money this year, you know, not just pay the bills and pay myself. And then within 18 days, you know, it was done. We were in free fall. Probably one of the best things that's ever happened to me was hiring a CPA, because she was able to organize and structure us where we were able to get some of that PPP money and some of that SBA money to keep us afloat. But I mean, when I say we were in free fall, we were in free fall. We were, you know, meeting every day. What do we do? How do we pivot? How do we keep customers going? How do we keep the staff happening? You know, I went from a staff of 21 to a staff of 4 in less than 5 days. You know, we had to close our bar, and your bar sales, I mean, that's kind of the icing on the cake, you know. But we closed for about a week, kind of reassessed everything. One of the great things about Memphis, and especially during trying times, is a lot of people pull together with you, you know. So I had the benefit of leaning on people like Kelly English, Patrick and Denny Riley, Felicia Suzanne, Andrew and Michael. That we were in communication through text, like daily, you know, like, what are you doing? Well, what are you doing? What can we do? You know, so we got back open in June because I did not want to be open, you know, and brought back on like a skeleton staff, you know. I mean, literally me, another cook, and a dishwasher, and 2 servers. Yeah. And we saw that the community was willing to stay with us and carry out. I had people sometimes order enough dinner for the week, so you'd have a $700 sale off of one couple, which, you know, was very flattering and just made you feel so grateful that these people would even want to do that. I mean, they could have said, "Hey, we'll get one meal, you know, and then we'll go get one meal somewhere else," but they were able to come at you and say, "Hey, can I get dinner for 7 days?"
And Memphis really has some great people.
No doubt.
There are great people living here in Memphis.
So when we got back open, you know, just to kind of give people an eyeball of what was really happening, was you go from a restaurant that was making $20,000 a week to $25,000 a week to making $5,000 a week. You know, $7,000 was good. Oh man, we can just make $7,000. We're gonna get through. So, you know, we got through the tail end of last year. You know, there were moments during this pandemic that we're in where we thought we're out of this thing, you know. And it seemed like every time you got a little momentum going, there was another spike, or, you know, we literally just introduced the vaccine in January, February of this past year. So that confidence wasn't there either. I mean, people did want to go out, and people did want to do things, but when movie theaters are closed, when the Orpheum was closed, when FedEx Forum was closed, when AutoZone has 90% of their workforce working from home, there ain't much going on downtown. So for that 6 to 8 month period from the first of the year till, you know, July or August, it was hard, man, you know, but we started seeing sales coming up. You know, people have been cooped up for a year. They were wanting to get out. They were wanting to come spend money with you. The vaccine became available, and people who were older, who, don't get me wrong, they make up a lot of my clientele, is that people who were like 50, 60, 70 plus were able to get this vaccine. So there was confidence that they could go back out. And if they were just to catch it, they would be sick and down for the count, not sick and gone. You know, so we started seeing sales ticking up. Now, you know, we haven't done less than like 15. We hadn't done no more than 17. So we're still $3,000 to $5,000 away from where we were at pre-COVID. But we've come up, you know, and we found a way to sustain. You know, in the last 4 months, availability of product has gotten just really hard. You know?
Yeah, and another question was that the availability of product, food cost, and how about finding staff?
Yeah, well, I was fortunate that I was able to bring back a majority of my staff. Now, a few of them moved on to other things, but you know, from June of last year till about May of this year, there were many shifts where it was just me back there, the dish person. You know, it's hard to find someone, or it was just hard in general, because if you did find someone, if one person had a fever, you had to shut down, they had to get tested. So there were various times throughout this where it was almost better to have a smaller staff because there's less people involved. But I've been fortunate to be able to retain some of my older staff, to also people gravitate. People want to work for me or work for the restaurant. I've created a good, respectable name in the community. So when an opportunity opens up, there's almost someone always there ready to step in. So that's been, you know, paramount to keeping this machine going. You know, this little Rizzos that could. So, but when it comes to like pricing and food costs, I mean, we've gone up in sales here or there. You know, one of the unique dynamics, but also one of those things that makes your head swell sometimes, is there's been an issue with minimum wage increase. You know, look, when I started out in the business, I was making $5.20 an hour. You know, Tennessee's $7.50 an hour. It's not a livable wage. People know that it's not. But when you're running a business with such tight restrictions now, you know, to pay more to maybe not get quality it's kind of a kick in the butt. But if you're willing to pay more for the quality, so quietly, without Congress having to pass a law, the minimum wage has gone up to $10 an hour. Folks. I don't care what anybody says.
No doubt about it.
Because if you're not giving at least 10 to 12, they're not going to come work for
Nope.
you. You know, so through persistence, through people just saying enough's enough, the minimum wage has gone up. So, you know, if we can just move past that and say, all right, minimum wage is now $12 an hour, and even then, it's still not a livable wage.
So would you like to maybe explain to some of our viewers? I know it's been a lot of, especially seen on social media, people are complaining about, this restaurant is charging so much for this burger, so much, and that's an outrageous price. Would you like to explain?
I sure can. We draw you a pie chart. Yeah. So if ground beef was $1.89, $1.83, $1.93 a year ago. Now it's $3.99 a pound. Right? So you take into effect that we're going to do an 8-ounce burger. So half of $3.99 is $2. You throw a bun in there, some lettuce, a tomato. Now you're at $3. Then you throw a little sauce on there, and maybe you put some fries on. So now you're at $5. So in order to make a profit off that, I got to sell it for at least $15. But
at least you got it at least 3 times the cost.
When you factor in labor, you factor in other elements, turning the lights on. That burger could be $18. Now, when I was 15 years old, if you told me you had an $18 burger, I wouldn't come to your restaurant. Same thing goes for a steak now. Like we had filet mignon on the menu, and I sold it for $30. Factoring in $9.99 a pound, potatoes, starch, sauce.
You got waste on it.
We're $9, $10 into the plate, so $30. That same steak now is $17.99, $19.99 a pound. So we're talking 120% increase in cost. So that same filet that I was selling for $30 in June of 2020 or June of 2019 is now a $42 steak. And most people aren't upset about that, but you do see some surprised looks on people's faces. And if you just, we keep a rolling inventory. We have a POS system in the back. We know what our daily sales reports are. We have spreadsheets. If you go back just 3 years, the lobster Pronto Pup was $12 on the menu. Today is $28. But the lobster Pronto Pup was also, the lobster was $16.99 a pound, where we're paying $30 a pound now. So if anyone can wrap their head around that, what we just said, and it's not magic, it's just math, there is justification over there. No one's gouging anyone. We're just trying to survive. We're trying to provide a product. Like I like to say, we have a private agreement with the general public before they come in the doors, and we're going to give them food that's quality, if not better than quality, meeting the expectation, exceeding it for a cash value. And it's, people don't drive somewhere and say, oh, I wonder how much the food is on that menu. They say, oh man, I hear they got this on the pot pie, or if you're going to Houston, that tuna is incredible. They don't talk about the cost of it. They talk about the food itself. So if you're putting out a product that is exceeding the general public's expectations, they're not even going to think about price, because they know they're going out to eat dinner.
Exactly.
So that's how we make it work. We do our best to be fair with everyone. I've always, I grew up poor. We didn't go out to dinner. We went to Perkins every few Sundays.
Every now and then.
90% of our meals came from home. So when I am looking at what my guests should experience, I want to eat at or own a restaurant that you can afford to eat at.
Exactly.
So when I go into thinking of menu and thinking of, like right now we're getting ready to go into winter, so we're going to change the wines up a little bit, get a little more red-centric, and we're going to try and focus more on the kind of the heartier meat, stick to your bones type of food. So, but I got to think about a menu that people can afford. So, there might be, there won't be a rack of lamb on the menu. But there might be a quail. There won't be a filet mignon on the menu, but there might be a skirt steak. So we just gotta, if everyone plays along and does what they do and believe in you and in your product, you're going to be just fine.
And I think you're exactly right, Chef. And I'm going to hold you on there for just 1 second. We're going to take one more short break so we can hear from our sponsors in Memphis Centric. And we'll be back more to talk about the menu.
Excellent.
And what Rizzos has to offer.
Looking forward to it.
All right, welcome back to the M-Town Chow Down. I'm sitting down with Chef Michael Patrick here at Rizzos Diner. So, Chef, we just finished up talking about, COVID, and we're going to put that behind us for right now.
Sure.
And we were talking about the menu. So tell us about, have you already rolled out your fall menu, or are you getting ready to roll it out?
Yeah, so we just had our downtown dining week, which is a pretty big deal. I wanted to wait until we got through that. I've got some ideas in my head. I've got a wonderful chef de cuisine in the back, Jess, and I want her to come at me with a couple menu items that, one of the things I've learned, and I think in this business coming up, you learn more what not to do than what to do.
Yeah, right.
But one of the things, if you're going to pay somebody and they're going to be involved and they're running your kitchen, then they also need to feel like they're involved in the menu itself, the development,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, when I've got about 6 or 7 ideas kicking around in my head. If she comes at me with 2 more, we'll knock out a menu here in about the next 10 to 12 days.
Okay. And you working toward what kind of, when you think of fall, winter items, or, menu items, like what would you say that you look at red meats or...
For me, it's more comforting. What's going to keep you warm? It's cold out there. You walk in, So, for me, like a pork shank or a veal shank or a lamb shank, but definitely that red meat you were mentioning a minute ago. A stuffed piece of fish, let's just say we take a catfish or a snapper, we butterfly it, fill it up with some tassel ham, crawfish, cornbread stuffing.
Oh, man, come on, stop, man.
Hit that with a nice pan gravy, something that you're making in the skillet that has those flavors from that fish you just cooked in it. But, that stick to the bone, kind of make you feel warm inside. Food, kind of food that when you leave and walk out, you're still a little warm.
Yeah.
So you'll see more of that type of food. We'll probably come back to our cornbread salad, which is something that was on the menu, 2 years ago, but that menu item, soaks up the jalapeno ranch. You're getting food that's going to stick in there.
Yeah, you're going to
hang
keep
out
warm
for
a little bit. Yeah.
Warm, yeah.
Okay, so explain to me. So when you are creating your menus, and your dishes and whatever, what is the creative process? What is your creative process? How do you, or maybe, how do you begin to do that?
Right. Well, creative inspiration is like the benchmark of the business. So, like if you're not being creative, you're stagnant. So I used to be somewhat of an artist when I was a kid in school. So in all honesty, I like to sit down and just start doodling. Draw Storm from the X-Men, draw Wolverine. Kind of
that myself.
Get my mind going, and then from there, I like to think of the plate. Like if you'll see some of my notebook pads one day or whatever, I like to draw the plate. I like to think about, like I'm left-handed, so when I think of a plate, I got to think about how a right-handed person eats. So most of the time, most of the time, the fork's here, so you want your starch. Ideally, the plate's a clock. Entree, meat, protein, whatever it may be, is at 6. Potatoes at, in the middle of the dial. I like to always have the vegetable at like 11:55 on the clock. Sometimes I like to offset it. You'll see asymmetrically kind of plated dishes where they're along the rim of the plate, and you got all this kind of empty space for maybe a sauce or maybe a little arugula, mixed greens or something. But for me, inspiration really comes from eating in other restaurants. I like to always Google food trends for 2022. Like that's, I look at that, because New York, California, Miami, they have giant cities there, and what they create on their food scene kind of flows and trickles down to the smaller cities. Memphis, Atlanta, Birmingham, Charleston.
Catch it a little bit later.
Right. We're 5 months behind them. Well, I want to sometimes be right there alongside of them.
Exactly.
For us to say, like the lobster Pronto Pup that we created here. When I got the reins of my first owned kitchen, I immediately thought, what food is historic to Memphis. I'm like, well, I took it off the menu. She goes, oh no, well, you're going to put it back on.
Put it back on.
And we have,
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at with that, And then when we think about wines and we think about cocktails, you want to be seasonal, So, for us, we'll get more red wine centric here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
The cocktails will be maybe you'll find a little jalapeno in here or a little ghost pepper there to kind of warm you up a little bit when you come in.
Yeah.
We've got this AM PM coffee that we're doing that's got our bread pudding sauce in it, some cream, so it's an elevated coffee. Well, you can get a cup of coffee, but for a few more dollars, you can get this beautiful whipped cream, bourbon infused coffee. So that's what really goes into it. And so again, if you can't be creative, then you're going to be stagnant. If you're stagnant, people can smell that. People can taste it. So for me, it's always about trying to keep pushing forward and trying to have my finger on the pulse of what's going on in the culinary scene. But again, with some restrictions, because you don't want to trip people out.
Yeah, exactly. And so, what do you, as far as your menu, so what do you offer? Do you got brunch, lunch, dinner?
Yeah, we're doing brunch and dinner.
Okay.
I've tried to get back on for lunch, but the feel just isn't there yet. I think a lot of that has to do with Service Master and their people working from home, AutoZone and their people working from home. Downtown Dining Week, we tried to be open. And don't get me wrong, we fed 20 people here, 15 there, 11. And then Christina McCarter tried to do a Memphis Dining Week.
I actually spoke with her about that.
And we did 10 people consistently for 4 days. So it's been harder. So, but brunch we do Saturday and Sunday, 11 to 2 on Saturday, 11 to 3 on Sunday, and dinner is 5 to 10 across the board. And dinner, I tell people just because we have white tablecloths doesn't mean you have to put a suit on to come in here. I put tablecloths on the table to prevent condensation from sliding glasses.
There you go.
It just happens to look nice.
Yeah.
I always, when people ask about a dress code, I always say, no cut-off jean shorts.
So you are open for dinner every day of the week?
Not Sunday night.
Okay, so only Sunday night. Yeah. And you do brunch how many days of the week?
2 days, Saturday and Friday.
Saturday and
Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so now if anyone wants to reach you, how can they go about it? Or making a reservation or reaching out to you on booking parties and things like that? How can they reach you? They reach you on social media, or should they just call the restaurant? Or how?
RizzosMemphis.com is our website. On there's a link that is connected to Google. So if you want to make a reservation, you can type in a traditional reservation. It'll shoot me an email right to my phone. Or if you go through the Google app, they will call us with an automated phone call. Also, you can call the restaurant, 901-304-6985. It's fairly simple. We don't really have that advanced, online presence when it comes to reservations. But you can do about anything hitting us up on our website, which said it's RizzosMemphis.com. Everything's right there. Menus, catering menus, the ability to leave me a message, the ability to leave the restaurant a message. So, and then, if you can, Facebook, got all our information there. Instagram's got our information.
Okay, and they just search for Rizzos on Facebook?
That's for sure, yeah.
Okay. All right, well, Chef, it's been a blast talking with you.
Yeah, it really has.
Getting to know you and getting the background story of who you are, the background story of Rizzos, and just all the beautiful things that's happening in Memphis and downtown, here in the downtown dining scene. I mean, it's been great.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for taking the time to give us a spotlight downtown and, for seeing the value in Rizzos. It means a lot to me.
Well, thank you, Chef, and it's been a pleasure. And I just want to thank you, all your viewers. Thanks for tuning in to the M-Town Chowdown, and we'll see you next time for our next episode.